right, good morning. Happy Friday, April 3rd. We are getting right through this week. We are finished. This will be the end of our second full week of home instruction. You had an additional week off, plus then an additional week off for spring break. So we've been out of school 4 weeks, boys and girls, and I miss you like crazy. Okay, here we go. Let's look at our warm-up language practice today. What you're seeing in front of you is very similar to something we've done before in class, but we've never done it with 3 topics. So this is a Venn diagram, but we're using 3, we're comparing 3 things. So we have Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta, and Mount St. Helens, all things we've talked about this week on our daily warm-ups. So here's how we read this. We see that each one has a title, so the things inside that circle belong to that volcano. This, where it says Washington State, connects Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier. So we know that those two share that, they have that in common, right? Then Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta, have in common these things here in the middle. And then it shows us that there's nothing here. That means Mount St. Helens and Mount Shasta do not have anything in common, okay? So this is how we read this. Now let's look at our questions. We're going to go back and forth from the diagram to the questions. These are true-false questions, or statements. I'm sorry, they are statements, and we are going to determine if they are true or if they are false. It says use the information on the diagram to answer the questions. Answer true and false. It doesn't say answer T or F. It says answer true or false. So we're going to write the whole thing out. Only Mount Shasta and Mount Rainier are composite volcanoes. So we're talking about Mount Shasta and Mount Rainier. So let's look at our diagram. Are composite volcanoes. It says that it's a composite volcano that encompasses Mount Rainier. It encompasses Mount Shasta, but what else does it encompass? It also encompasses Mount St. Helens. Okay, so that means that our first answer is, that's right, it's false. I'm going to start you off. I'm going to give you your first one, and you're going to do the rest of these. Number 2, Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier, and Mount Shasta are all part of the Cascade Mountain Range. Look at your diagram. Are Mount Shasta, Mount Rainier, and Mount St. Helens, are they all part of the Cascade Mountain Range? Number 3, Mount Rainier and Mount Shasta have peaks. Mount Rainier and Mount Shasta. So Mount Rainier and Mount Shasta have peaks. So you need to read to see if it says anything about them having peaks. It specifically tells us that Mount St. Helens does not. Okay? Number 4. Only Mount Rainier is inactive. Hope you underline that word, inactive. And number 5, Mount St. Helens is the tallest peak. Use your diagram to answer these questions. Then look at your writing prompt here. Write a good topic sentence for a paragraph that tells how the volcanoes are alike and different. So I want a good topic sentence for a paragraph. So if you were going to write a paragraph about these 3 volcanoes, write a topic sentence that tells how the volcanoes are alike and different. I'm anxious to see your answers on that. Okay, that is our language practice. Let's move on to our vocabulary and then to our writing.